Yeah, it wasn't. It's because when you lock your phone, I think it stops recording. Okay. So let me relate that back to what it looks like when you walk. In standing, there's two phases of the walking cycle. You have a stance phase and a swing phase, right? So the legs are doing two different things. The first thing that happens is, or should happen in regular walking, is your foot's gonna hit the ground. A lot of people think heel hit the ground in running. There's so much debate over whether your heel needs to hit the ground, your toe needs to hit the ground, and where it needs to hit. Like, people really geek out on this stuff. What I'm gonna say about it and what I took away from my research into that is it's all of it. It's your heel should be able to hit the ground and it feel good. Your toe should be able to hit the ground and it feel good, especially when you're in running. You know, you should also just be able to kind of put a foot forward and hit with most of your foot coming onto the outside. So that's the stance phase. What happens in this is the knee is gonna have to go into extension. This is one of the first things that people can't do. And it's not like you're doing it, it's like your brain can't make the map of the action to do it. Your brain can't extend your knee. You can't will your brain to extend your knee with every step. And so that's what we're here doing today, is re-educating the body to do it itself. So foot forward, knee's gonna stay in extension right here. Immediately, if your foot doesn't have this arch on the bottom of your foot, acts as a brace. If this arch isn't working, just like the arches on the building, immediately force isn't going into that arch. It's going somewhere else, and I can't tell you everywhere it's going. It could go in your knee, it could be going up to your hips. It depends on your specific body orientation. So this foot hits, immediately the knee is gonna come back into extension and this whole hip gets loaded up. This arm typically swings forward. This is another thing that a lot of times is locked up. So you think we're talking about walking, it'd be all legs, but it's not all legs, it's whole body. And I hope that you guys just felt that in like the Tai Chi twist, how it is your whole body. It's the same mechanics as walking. You see the ribcage twist? You see the belly open? So as the body spirals up, out, into the opposite side, all the force from my body weight is being distributed evenly into the tissues, into the tendons, instead of the joints, through this spiraling nature with every step. Another thing that happens is when I start to take off, this foot, and these two phases are actually broken down into 7 phases, which is really complex, and I decided that you guys might not be that interested, so I let some of it out. But right here, what happens is this stance phase starts to take the weight and it becomes the anchor for this swinging leg. So once this leg starts to swing in the second phase, then I've got hip flexion right here. This leg is going into extension. I'm already starting to spiral the other direction. The leg hits, and then this one has to kick off. So there's so much going on here, and it can go wrong in so many ways. And I'm gonna show you some of the ways it can go wrong. So have you all ever seen, like, it's always like really cute old men, and they do like this little shuffle because their hips are frozen. Have you guys ever done that yourself? Here's another one. So my belly's locked up and I can't get this hip flexion to swing my leg. And what happens is instead, I twist my hips. Y'all ever seen this one? Or done it? Right? Really, really common, and to some degree we're all doing this in some way, including myself. I got a couple more I want to show you, they're kind of fun. So this is mostly downhill, and you see people walking downhill, or maybe you yourself are walking. Who here's knees hurt when they walk downhill? Okay, because mine did for like 9 to 10 years. And it sucks. Like, I love to hike, I love to walk, and I just thought it had to be that way because my joints were bad and blah, blah, blah. But it turns out it actually doesn't. And that's probably one of the main things. I think this is still burning heat. That got me super fired up about this and really excited to share it was that, just speaking of injury, like the laundry list of my injuries is really extensive. So I've had to heal a lot of stuff in order to be able to just move happily and to be able to run if I wanted to and go on long hikes. So walking downhill, you'll often see, since the hip is immobile right here, downhill instead, you get this big knee bend. And you don't know you're doing it. The person doesn't know they're doing it. The body is just finding a way to get you down the hill. It can't do it in the way that is optimal, but it gets you down the hill, and that's beautiful. And that's really exciting. One thing I didn't go over is that when part of that spiraling, I kind of did, but is going to happen in the ankle. So as I push off this foot, this is called supinate, when the ankle goes out like this. This foot ever so slightly supinates to spiral up the entire leg. So some people's ankles are super stiff. You roll your ankles a lot, your ankles hurt. Can't do this here, can't do this here. I train my ankles in these positions so that when I step on a rock or I twist my ankle, it already knows how to twist under load. It can twist and put load onto my ankle in that position and in this position, because they're both part of the phases of walking, and you guys are gonna do these fun little walks today. Another one is too much lumbar extension. So back pain, anyone? Low back pain? It's like one of the main things that everyone seems to share in common. So if you're walking and your hips are immobile, something's gotta bend, right? Something's gotta spiral. It's gonna be instead this low back, and I'm kind of dramatizing it so you can see it, but with every step, if my core can't hold the front of my body in place, then instead, the low back's gonna move into too much extension. So I'm sure you guys can relate to some of those. You've probably seen them. Mostly they are really dramatized in the older population, which makes them a great example of what to look at and what not to do. So I think that kind of goes through that, just to give you like a brief recap of what the body, like the main things that the body does when you're in walking. You're looking at hip flexion. A lot of people can't find it right here. We want knee extension. A lot of people's knees can't extend in a way that's supported by muscle. People stand with their knees locked out. That's different than taking a loaded step with the knee in extension, and not hyperextension. I can't hyperextend my knees, but I'm sure some of you can. I'm not talking about hyperextension. Another big thing that I see not happening is, so this is called controlled falling. Controlled falling is this calf doesn't push off, the back leg doesn't push you forward, and this is probably, if I had to pick one thing that is the biggest problem and the most common problem because of our shoes, honestly, is that this, probably hip flexors can't flex and calf can't kick me forward. So a controlled step comes forward, and also, again, dramatizing for effect, from this swing. This is what propels me. And the cool thing about that is that if it's working properly, it actually doesn't have to be from your muscle. It can be from your Achilles tendon, which is why so many people injure their Achilles tendons. It's from walking incorrectly, running incorrectly. That Achilles tendon, instead of you having to extend and contract, or contract and flex, lengthen and contract your calf muscle over and over, instead that tendon just bounces. So tendon, has anyone heard of fascia here or not heard of fascia? Okay, so it's a big buzzword right now. It's like we used to cut it off our cadavers so we could view the muscles, and now we're realizing that more than our muscles contracting and relaxing are fascia and our tendons, which fascia turns into tendon, which connects to bone and acts like little levers. They actually just are elastic and bounce and can move the muscle so it doesn't have to contract so much. And that saves energy, and that's good. Okay. Any questions? Let's get moving. Did that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Okay, cool. So actually I have a couple more things to say. I'm gonna make sure I'm not going over my time too much. I am, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I'm gonna make it fast because this is important. So I'm gonna read it off my tablet. And I can also email you guys my notes too. So make sure you sign up for me. So the problems are, to break it down for you, we have neurologically sleeping tissue. It's not educated, it doesn't know how to move correctly, it's not dead, but it's not getting the right sensory input to do what it needs to do. We have dehydrated tissue. It doesn't matter how much water you drink, if you have dense fascia somewhere, that water is not going into that tissue, it's being pushed out. We have weak tissue. If you're seated all the time, your hips are in flexion, but they're not working to keep you in flexion. So then you have this tight hip flexor. I hear tons of people, tight hip flexors, tight hip flexors. Well, that's not the same as strong hip flexors. So I've got a tissue here that's shortened and weak. Really interesting. And that's just one example. And then we have tissues that are too long. The glutes, right now, my glutes are lengthened, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm stretching. But no, stretching doesn't do you any good in walking and sitting and being a human unless it's under load, because your body's under load from the weight of itself and the weight of gravity all the time. So I'm not really into passive stretching as it relates to a movement practice. There's definitely applications for passive stretching that are more energetic, that are more therapeutic for your heart, and I do those things, but not as it relates to this. And then the last thing is poorly adapted joint alignment, and we're gonna go through some of that stuff too. So when your fascia is tight, some muscles are weak, some muscles are too long, muscles and tendons don't know what they're doing, it starts to pull your joints out of place. Has anyone been given a scoliosis or sentence, or like you have one leg that's too long, one leg that's too short and stuff like that? That's not always structural. A lot of the time that's functional. If your whole body's lightly twisted up and to the side, then yeah, your leg's gonna be shorter. The muscles are keeping it shorter. Sometimes, not always. There's no blacks and whites, but that's a big problem. Another big thing, ribs are dehydrated. Anyone ever feel like they can't get a full breath? I always get nervous before workshops, so honestly, I'm kind of struggling to get a full breath right now. I can teach like 85 people a week, but put me in a workshop and I'm nervous. All right, so those are the problems. There's 5 of them. This is super geeky, but I've specifically correlated these to the elements. Everything to me, and probably my friend Terry too, unfolds in 5s and 3s in the way that it unfolds in the universe. And if I can't fit it into that model, then it's not correct. So that's where this is all coming from. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna re-educate the breath and your joint articulations. So that's how we're using air. Air is in movements. We're gonna rehydrate your tissues through myofascial release. That's what all these toys are for. We're gonna release chronic tense spots or short, weak tissue by passive releases. And then, so that's your, I'm not gonna give you all the elements. And then we're gonna do active, loaded correctives. Just a few of them. You guys definitely aren't gonna sweat today. But what I hope to see is your brain working super hard and kind of like, not because I've been talking for so long, hopefully though. Yeah, and then the last thing you're gonna do is sense your body in space, try to integrate this, put it into walking, and make it into a meditation. This is enough fodder for you to make a meditative practice out of it, day in and day out for the rest of your life if you want to. Walking becomes your meditation in this way, and beginning with the body doesn't mean that you're always going to be using these sensory awarenesses that I'm giving you today as your only meditation during walking, but it's a damn good place to start, because essentially what we want to do is get you out of your head and awake to this body so you can start to experience something real and not something that's just passively happening all the time that you have no control over. So I just want to give you guys some control over it. Cool. Let's go. All right, if you haven't found something to sit on already, bathroom break, water in, water out, totally cool with me. You guys find something to sit up on, you'll just be here for a moment and grab your stretchy strap. And if you didn't have a stretchy strap, where did I put the rest of those? Here's more stretchy straps. And if you got a short stretchy strap, grab a long strap too.
Affliction Brandy, we all liked Nice Now you'll know your training.
I know. I'm loving this already though, like, I just love the feel of it, you know.
It was great.
Okay.
That you might be able to be like, hey, you have a sub-7 o'clock.
Maybe. Gosh, I just
Because
need
nobody
further
wants
away
that
from
class
you.
for Brandy.
Carol has that class. Carol does, I do. I rejoined stupid Facebook so I can buy ads.
Oh, you back on Facebook?
My God, until I can run a small business with it.
Yeah, same. Okay. Well, April is changing real quick. Does anyone have anything that came up for them now that we're all kind of like warming up and it's not so deafeningly hot and silent in here? Good. Cool. I hope that was interesting. That's probably the longest introduction I've ever given to anything. Okay, let's start with the breath, right? So everyone's got a stretchy tissue. These ones are awesome. I just got these. I want you to put it on your ribs. So, and how synchronistic is it? There's like exactly enough stretchy straps for everyone. These are the things that keep me going, y'all. So if you have a long strap, can I see one of your long straps really quick? I'm gonna get a little quick demo. It's super easy to get these like stuck. So the way that you don't is you make a bow and you tie it, and then you do like a regular knot. It's called a slip knot, I think, but you just do a slip knot with it so that I can pull one of these and get it off way easier, because as you put load on these, they tighten. So just make a bow and pretend like that bow is just like a regular side to it. These pretty tight, y'all?
It's fine.
Cool. Okay, I got the light ones. These stretchy bands are really fun. You can do so much with them. And then once you get it, I want it just kind of around the base of your ribs or wherever it can be comfortably. And then I want everyone in seated, please. And go ahead and sit up on whatever you've got, a block, a bolster. I can give someone this cushion if someone doesn't have something, and get comfortable. So for me, this is comfortable. Some people like to cross their legs. Just get to a place where you can sense your spine kind of soft but also rising. So you're not making a ton of effort to sit here. And if you need help, let me know. And then if it's okay with everyone, close your eyes. Who's too short? Here. Never been good at slingshots. Okay, and you guys close your eyes. And especially if you're already used to yoga classes, notice if you just changed your breath without me asking. And that's fine, but I want you to also notice what you did with it and just make a mental note for yourself. As soon as I started to practice, I did this with my breath. And then see if you can soften and sense maybe how you were breathing before that happened. And then I want you to start to send your breath into that strap. And as you do that, notice where you feel the strap moving more. Front, back, sides. Is it hard to breathe in this strap? Does it make you nervous or tense? If it does, soften a little bit. And see if you can set your mind on where your breath is going as it relates to the strap while you try to breathe into it. And then see if it's possible to breathe into the strap in all directions equally. So it's like you're blowing up a balloon. This is called a 360 breath. If you feel your shoulders rising quite a bit, soften your shoulders, soften your neck, and try to send the breath into the strap rather than the shoulders. And then stay relaxed, but heighten your attention and listen very carefully to me, the next time you take an exhale, press out a little bit of extra air so that all the air in your lungs actually comes out, and notice where you feel tone happening. There are actually certain muscles that come on to push out that air. Before I tell you, I want you to feel with your own body and try to verify for yourself. So where you should be feeling this tone to press out that air is in your low belly, down in your pubic abdomen. I don't want you to tighten this area, I just want you to tone it a little bit. And once you find that, keep that tone in your low belly and start breathing into the strap, 360 degrees in all directions so that you can feel your back body expanding and pushing the strap away, your side bodies, your front body, equally in all directions. And if this is really hard because you've never done it before, then join the club. And once you've got it, if you need a little bit more time with your strap, then take that time. And if not, take your strap off and see if you can maintain this really soft tone in your low belly. It's not a clench, it's not a squeezing of the abs, it's a subtle tone of your pubic abdomen is the actual area. And once you start to understand this, your body will kick on that tone on its own. It's not something that you do consciously during movement. It's something that your body will learn to do for you the more that you teach it. So just like we hope that our minds sit in meditation so that we can be mindful in our life, we let our belly sit with a little bit of tone and breathe correctly so that we learn for that to happen automatically. Okay. You guys open your eyes. And we'll move into the rest of it. So what I want to tell you is that we're going to go through a lot of stuff today. Some of these things I would spend 30, 40 minutes on at home personally because I'm feeling work happening there, but I'm only going to give you like 2 minutes in each position or each activation or whatever it is, so that this becomes a practice for you that I give you, not that we get done here and say goodbye to. What I want to direct you back to is that breath. So if you have to back off of something because I say 360 breath and you can't find it with what we're doing, then switch to the bigger ball from your little ball, or just stop and find your breath and try to come back into it. First thing's actually going to be feet after breath. So I like to use a lacrosse ball for the feet because you're not putting a whole lot of weight onto it since you're in your single leg stance. It seems dangerous. It seems like it'd be dangerous quick. Right? Just like, man. Mark, can I toss this to you? You got one? Everyone got one? Perfect. Okay, so you all come up to standing. Once you get to standing, reintegrate yourself on your feet for a moment as you change planes and change your space in the practice to up rather than down. And then give me a little bit of Tai Chi twist again and just get some of that tension from the seated position out of your body through movement. So putting movement like this into your body puts water in the joints, which lubricates them and makes them more likely to slide on one another correctly. As we move through this practice, I'm going to keep relating everything back to walking, what function this is specifically aiming to in walking, so that you guys can start to correlate and connect with where you feel that a lot of pressure, a lot of strain, or not. We're not going to go into strain today, but if it's very challenging, make a mental note to yourself and you can relate that back to your walking and be like, oh, maybe this is where, so maybe you feel it in your knees, but it's because your lats are weak. I can't tell you that, but you can find out for yourself. Okay, make your way to just kind of a neutral standing position. I'm gonna be setting my timer to over and over, so I'm not like texting over here. And the first thing I want you all to do is the arch of your foot. So you can roll over onto this part where the arch touches the floor. And what I want you to do is just slowly put a little bit of weight into the ball and see if you can keep your toes from really curling. So the first thing that's gonna happen is your toes are gonna try to curl up. I wanna open and lengthen the bottom of that tissue. Once you find a spot, pause for a moment, set in a 360 breath, try to find that subtle tone in your low belly, and slowly let the weight of that ball come into that spot so that you start to give yourself and surrender to the ball. Hurts really bad? Okay, does anyone have...
It hurts really good.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you like fascia 101 rules as we go through this. If you cannot get your foot to relax in stillness and surrender to the ball where you feel like the ball's melting into like liquidy tissue, then you're not relaxing and the nervous system's not gonna make change. So I'm gonna pass out tennis balls too, so no one has to be like raising their hand and saying I can't do it. Because really, the more that you can be open to stepping back and saying to yourself like, this is too much, I need to move back, I need to back off, the more you prepare yourself for the person that you're going to be, for the openings and the connections that you're going to make. So my teacher would say, you try to get what's not yours by going too far. It's not yours yet. This is a practice of softening and allowing to make change. Okay, next bit, ball of the foot. So you're gonna put a little more weight on it this time, and I really want you to work on seeing if you can flex your toes up towards your face, raise them as high as you can, and then when you take them out of that, rather than relaxing them, squeeze the ball in. And roll from the big toe mound, putting weight on the ball all the way to the pinky toe mound, so that you can maybe even see the bones in the tops of your foot being deformed a little bit from the shape of the ball. This is what happens when you walk in barefoot, or barefoot shoes even, is that with each step, your bones deform over the surface of the ground. And it's super cool and allows all of your joints to react step by step from what the map of the bottom of your foot says. So when you put your foot into a shoe, it turns off that neural mapping of the ground because your foot doesn't sense it. So none of your joints know what's happening, and then they can't react and make subtle changes to support you. Okay, next thing, move to the heel. The heel's a little bit harder to roll. The fascial line of the foot shaped like a weird, creepy triangle, like that, or a heart kind of triangle. So on the heel, the fascial line is right in the center of the foot. You're gonna make a lot of change there. If you're pretty used to this, you can step up on your ball, try to balance a little bit, put a little bit more weight onto that fascia line. And again, you're looking for your foot to surrender and melt over the ball. It won't surrender if your vagus nerve is stimulated and you're not relaxed. So use the breath I've given you. It'll subtly strengthen your core. It'll turn your vagus nerve down, and that'll keep you from not allowing this ball to make the changes that it can if you actually surrender. And you all notice Tara moved over to the wall. Any of this in standing, if you need to move over to the wall. This isn't like a balance class, so you're absolutely welcome to. Although I will challenge your balance in a bit. Okay, take that ball, put it on the 3 center toes of the same foot, and then try to ground your pinky toe and your big toe back down, just like this. Extend the knee, go ahead and start working on putting that knee into extension while you're in load, and then step forward. So you might not be able to step forward very far or almost at all. That's fine. If you have already done quite a bit of working your feet, you might be able to start lifting the heel of your back foot. When you lift the heel of your back foot, start putting that other leg into extension too, and loading it up a little bit. If that's pretty easy, stay here with the other foot forward. You can increase it by moving it forward even more, and then see if you can straighten the back leg. So this would be the biggest stretch that I know of or would give you that you could take. From there, you can try to lift and spread the toes of your front foot and balance your weight equally onto that foot. And now you're in the first phase of walking, right? Right here, I've got my heel, you're in the stance phase. Last bit, ball on the big toe, same thing. Go ahead and step back, swing that leg forward. You got your swing leg here. You can start practicing that. And then if that's enough, stay there. If you need more, or you can access more, Start to bend and straight, bend that back leg, straighten the front, and you're like scissoring your legs together, looking for knee extension. Same thing as you step forward more, looking for mobility in that front or back metatarsal. You can step forward, stretch it even more, and this is your back leg in standing right here. So this is your kickoff leg. So if this feels really, really tight, there's a good chance that when you go to walk, rather than kicking off and propelling yourself forward, you're actually falling forward, which would look like this, right? I'm dramatizing again, but it can happen with every step. So I'm not kicking off with my back foot at all. You see the pelvis is twisting around. It's gotta do a bunch of funny stuff. And then let's do all that on the other side. So begin, you gotta take a little Tai Chi twist in between, just loosen yourself back up. After you finish that, check in with your breath. Keep doing that over and over and over. The more times you do it, the more times you tell your body, this is what we want. This is the breath I want when I'm moving. I don't want my breath caught up in my chest body. I don't want it way down in my belly because I'm not totally relaxed right now. Nice. I think you got the lightest one, so that's perfect. I know, me too. Me too. Okay. So start with the arch. A lot of people are missing their arch. I have clients who have started with, one client in particular had no arch at all 3 years ago, totally flat. It's not like the arch isn't a bone in your foot that makes an arch. It's musculature that holds up that bone. So if you're missing an arch in your foot, it means that the muscles in the bottom of your foot are, I always want to say dilapidated. I know that applies to buildings, but does that make sense to say that? They're dilapidated, they're falling over. they're in shambles, they're crumbling. Picture an old barn montage. Okay, and then notice what that other foot is doing since we're talking about arches. That is the arch that should be working right now in your stance leg and holding up some of the weight of your body so that your knees don't have to do it all and your hips don't have to do it all. Good, move from the arch into the big toe or ball mound. And in the ball mound, see if you can move from side to side and watch those muscles deform over the ball. So you might even see them kind of poking up. You might see the bones moving. Again, these little movements are emulating what you would experience in walking, and you might notice your foot and your ankle moving from side to side through supination, going outwards, spiraling outwards, and pronation, spiraling inwards, which mimics and mirrors what's already happening in standing. So it's all connected from the foot, the ankle, all the way up to the head. Perfect. Move down to the heel. And while you do that, since you've already been through this, I'll tell you about the superficial back fascial line. Superficial back fascial line is a sheet of fascial tissue that connects all of the muscles from the ball of your foot up through the heel, connects at the back of the knee, it goes all the way up through your hamstrings, connects at the sacrum, splits again, goes up each side of your spine, into your neck where it reconnects and goes over your head, right into your forehead. So if you get headaches, a good place to guess that you could start to help with that would be the bottom of your feet.
Makes sense.
So interesting, because that tight tissue on the bottom of your foot is pulling your body all the way up to your forehead. Incidentally, where your third eye connects, I don't know. I'm not sure. I would ask that question. Okay. All right, we got 5 more seconds here, and then you are going to move into the middle toe stretch. And as you're starting to move from side to side, notice if you already feel whatever side you started on, if it's way different than this side. There's a really good chance that it is way different than the first side. And another little piece of fascia information is, since we're moving so quick, is that the longer you stay and keep relaxing and keep surrendering and keep letting that implement, could be a ball, could be a pillow, could be one of these big balls, whatever you're using, massage cane, massage gun, your thumbs, your elbows, your forearms, the longer you stay in one spot and let that go deeper and deeper, you run into deeper tissues, you hit different fascial lines, and what's happening is when that ball goes in, it dehydrates the tissue, it pushes everything out, and when the ball comes off, it sucks hydration into all the tissue, so it creates a vacuum, a space that it fills. And then as you continue to drink water, especially lots after this class, it'll go to those places where it hasn't been, and you will feel different. I have a lot of confidence in that. So spend time here. Next part is gonna be the big toe stretch. Just to go over what I told you on the first one, you can start shifting your weight more forward and more into the opposite leg so that you're working on that stance leg already. You're working on your single leg stance. Try to shift your weight back so that your spine is stacked over your hips rather than being in deep flexion, and see how that affects it. And then notice where your breath is gone. And see if you can set a 360 breath in with a gently toned pubic abdomen. And if you can't, if you're not figuring out how to tone your pubic abdomen, keep searching at the bottom of your exhale. Pushing out that little extra air is always gonna bring you back to a lightly, not overtoned pubic abdomen. We don't need a crunching down in this soft core. We're working with the deep core, the soft core. Not that we don't use the hard core, but not right now. Okay, come on out. Easy Tai Chi twist. Just loosen yourself up a little bit. Keep connecting the sensations of this back to walking, and specifically feel your feet now. Can you feel the arch? Do you have more mobility to come up on your toes and your swing? You can try.
I feel lighter.
Yeah, that would make sense. Thank you for talking. I love that. Myself.
Don't open that box again. I got a lot of words.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, slowly come to stillness. Make your way into what feels like a neutral stance. Hips about, hip width distance apart. Hip width distance is gonna be ankles below your hip points. Hip points are here. A lot of ladies think their hips are here. A lot of men think their hips are here. Somewhere in between. Yeah, right under those ASIS, top of the iliac spine joints. And then I want you guys to close your eyes again and feel where you feel the weight of your body in your feet. So you might feel it more in the inner line, between your legs, and the outer. My guess is that most of you feel it more in your toes than in the ball. And then I want you to start rotating your body and swaying on top of your feet, and feel how when you move, the weight distributes differently over the feet. Every single movement that I do affects the way weight is distributed on my feet. And yours. And then I want you to try to distribute the weight equally between the four corners of your feet. And I can pretty much guarantee that for all of you, that's going to mean shifting your weight back. So I'll give you a demonstration here. This is the common American stance. It's about like this. This isn't even really a dramatization. This is just pretty accurate. As soon as I start to shift my weight back, I'm not overcorrecting. That's just what happens. It stands me up. So actually, everyone shift your weight back until you can lift all your toes and maybe even come up all the way onto your heel. Do you feel like you're gonna fall backwards? And if you do fall a little bit backwards, props for actually pushing yourself to the limit, right? You feel your back line come on, your whole back line, that whole fascia line comes on to catch you from falling. This is the most underdeveloped part of our bodies, especially in Western world. So keep that in mind. And then step 1 foot forward as much as you would for a step. So if you need to take a step forward and backwards, and find what's a step for you. And then ground both feet and find the four corners again. Put your hands on this ASIS spine right here. And then what I want you to do is just start shifting your weight from front to back. So this would be the shift that you do right before your swing phase. And loading that front leg slowly. Okay, now look down at your hips and notice if you are naturally twisting your hips as you shift your weight from front to back. And then set your 360 breath in place and tone your low belly. And look down at your hips so you can see. And shift your weight from front to back without letting your hips twist. So you're probably gonna feel a stretch in the front of your back leg. That's that weak yet tight hip flexor I'm talking about, right? So you're probably gonna feel like your low belly has to work a little bit to keep your hips from twisting, yeah? Okay, shake it off. Let's start adding in addition to Tai Chi twist, the option to bounce and let your heels hit the ground. These are just little resets, little neurological erasers to get you ready for the next move so that when we move to the next thing, you start from a place of newness. Clean slate. You twist everything out, bounce it out, and then take your opposite step forward. Step forward a couple times if you want to get your natural step. Shift from front to back without correcting in your pelvis in order to observe yourself in your natural state. And then look down at your hips, put your hands there, and see if you're twisting. Now you all, if you need to stop and make notes about yourself, that is a thing I would advise you stop to make notes about. Is it harder on this side or easier? Do you feel more resistance in that hip flexor or less? Which side is it? These are things that you can take forward with you to be like, oh, I need to do this on this side more, so you don't waste your time. And you don't have to do every side.
You don't want the hips to turn?
You want the hips to not be twisting, to have the ability
To shift the weight.
to shift from front to back without twisting. And this is what part of what limits when you can't, you don't have hip flexion here and you don't have hip extension here and you start twisting. The twisting is a symptom. It's not the cause of the problem, it's a symptom. So it's fine to twist your hips. I should be able to do this. It should be easy and fun and we should all be belly dancers. But when? You know, when, and is it supporting the load when I'm twisting, or is it twisting because it can't support the load? So that's the first little like kind of lesson here that you guys have learned. You're learning about your ability to stabilize your pelvis.
So it should be going like up and down, but not.
It's gonna have to go up and down a little bit. But if you're also getting this like, right? That's a hip hike is what it's called. Like the old man, King wins. And it has to do with the belly's ability to recoil and open and close. Which is actually what we're doing next. So you guys come down, grab your big ball. Anyone not have a big ball? If you have a rainbow ball, they're bigger, so let's not use the rainbow ball for this one, especially because you're so little. Because it's gonna like lift you way up off the ground. I don't know how to get air out of these balls yet, so I think I have the pump if your ball has way too much air. But you all come to lying down on your bellies, and there's a couple different ways you can do this, but where I want the ball first is down in your low belly. Now that you know how to tone it, now that you've used it a little bit, come up onto your forearms, put one knee up and out to the side. I don't really care which one. And then I want you to just start breathing into that ball.
The ball's in the center of the stomach?
Ball's in the center of the stomach. If you bring it up by your ribs, it's not in the center. It's got to go to one side or the other because you've got a big, long muscle that's kind of sensitive. So what you guys can do here is, again, close your eyes so that you can visualize. And then with the ball down by your belly, take a big inhale, push the ball away from you, hold it at the top of your breath. This will get that pubic abdomen working again, and then release it. And feel the ball starting to melt into your belly. And keep doing that. And then as you feel the ball melt into your belly even more, put more weight into your forearms, ground your palms, and then without changing the alignment or structure of your body, start to pull and drag your heart forward so that you open up through your belly. So you can even look up and forward a little bit. And this is just gonna increase the stretch in your belly. If this feels really tight and uncomfortable, especially for us women that have been told to hold our bellies in all the time, welcome to your belly. It should also be soft. April, why don't you switch to the bolster? It'll be a little bit less intense. Anyone else who's feeling a lot of intenseness, either in their low back or where the belly is touching them, switch over to your bolster, it'll be a little bit easier. okay? So take a few breaths here, press into your forearms, spread your shoulders just a little bit on your back, and notice if when I said that you had to press up a lot to spread your shoulders. This is a collapse in your shoulders that is, yes, related to your walking and your ability to gently twist as you walk. Good. We'll slowly ground into your forearms a little bit more. Drag your heart forward again and kind of look up a little bit. So you bring your spine into a slight extension and take 2 more breaths down into your low belly. And this time I want you to move the ball, wiggle it up and to the right a little bit. So it's coming onto your side body and your oblique. Notice how that feels. Take a breath. At the top, hold that breath and press your belly into the ball, and then let it release. And let that belly sink, that ball sink into your body. Give your belly to this ball, let it in. If you have poor digestion, in addition to this helping with walking, this is a great place to turn when your digestion is not running well, or it's stopping. Okay, move over to the next side. Same thing. Breathe into the ball on the next side. You can bring your next knee up and out to the side as well so that you're getting a little bit of a pelvic release on each side here from your groin. And then breathe into that ball, 360. And to tone your low belly here, you can just press into the ball and it'll do it for you. And then melt and feel the water-like nature of your fascia coming back to your belly as you accept this squishing out of everything that's in the fascia. And then once you come off the ball, hydration will come in. And keep trying to drag your heart forward a bit and relax. Okay, super good, y'all. Come on out. Come to seated and just sit back on your heels for a second. I'm just gonna work this into the practice just like the erasers. It's actually a super specific posture I'm looking for to stretch the bottoms of your feet. They'll wanna splay out like this into supination. I want them in like this into pronation. So the toes can be almost touching. I'm gonna keep turning so you guys, if anyone didn't see, can see. So get used to sitting comfortably like this. We'll do like 10 seconds at a time throughout class because it's really hard. And if this is really hard, now you know part of your kickoff phase of your walking cycle is limited. So come on down. Again, if that was super hard, spend hours in this posture. Watch TV like this. Okay, you know, come down to your seats, grab your bolster, block, whatever you got. Fold one leg up so it's nice and comfy and extend the other one forward and bend the foot, bend the knee so you can just kind of have it resting here. How's everybody doing? How is that belly thing? Intense?
Yeah.
Very intense? So if that was super intense, I would probably guess that you had a little bit of digestion not running so smoothly. I could be wrong. But also that your belly is not able to recoil enough to run, because the belly right there is a big part of when you run forward. This belly has to be able to open up while still staying toned back here in a way where you're not thinking about it and it's no big deal and your body's doing it for you. So lots of time spent there. You could stay there for 10 minutes. You could watch TV there. You could do your work from home job right there. Just be mindful of that linea alba that runs down the front of your core. It's a little sensitive. If you hit it, you'll feel it. Okay, take your hands. This is another way we can do fast, soft tissue that works on shearing. So we're twisting the fascia on the top to move unstuck, weird crisscross tissue a little bit so that it releases and get hydration in there. So take your feet, just take your hand, twist. I've got the palm of my hand, just twisting all along my shins. You can kind of move back and forth like this. You'll feel massage therapists do this kind of stuff all the time. You can do a lot of it to yourself. Again, if you're watching the entire Marvel Universe like I am, great time to do this stuff. Like 100 hours or something. come up to the knee, same thing, just jostle it a little bit. Twist, press in as much as you're comfortable with. You're not trying to move into severe discomfort in soft tissue work, because then you stimulate fight or flight response, and your body doesn't neurologically write new information into its hardwiring when you're in fight or flight. So you gotta get into relax, so we can't hurt ourselves, okay? And then the next thing is gonna be just kind of like a lesson and a mobility thing. So I'm gonna show you first. What I want you to do is to mobilize the shin as it relates to the ankle and the knee. So what's gonna happen here is this tibial tuberosity, this big point on the front of your knee, you'll see it, and I want you to start to try to move it from side to side. Now what's gonna happen first is your ankle's gonna try to do it for your shin. That looks like this. Now I'm twisting my ankle joint, I'm circumducting it around the shin. So the shin, you'll see that tibial tuberosity move to the right. It's probably gonna be harder to move it to the right than the left, and you'll see it move to the left. And you'll see my foot moves as a result of this shin moving. So my foot joint, my ankle joint is not actually moving. It is, it's very small. Now you can get it going by spiraling it first. So spiral your ankle foot and then you can pull it out, right? Is anyone not getting it to move at all? Is everyone getting it to move? Tibial tuberosity comes to the right of the knee and the left of the knee. So what would happen in walking is the tibial tuberosity on the kickoff point would start over here on the inner line, and then as it kicks off, it slowly moves to the out, and then as it comes back and becomes a stance leg, it moves in. So this shin, if it's stuck when you're walking and it can't do this on its own, then that's not happening. Your knee is being pulled and your ankles are being pulled. Okay, a little bit more time there, and then let's move to the next side and we'll do them together. So start with the soft tissue stuff. Squeeze, you can even lift, try to lift this shin muscle up off of itself. That's another soft tissue mechanism. You can twist, press down as much as feels good. This twisting is going to help a lot here. I'll give you a quick demonstration. I don't have enough for everyone to do this, but the way I do my soft tissues at home is either with one or two of these double balls, and I come onto my forearms are here and I just roll the whole thing. You can tape 2 tennis balls together. I'm all about doing this cheaply. So for $5, you can have a mimic of the blue balls. They call it the peanut. They're both weird names. Okay, once you finish that, same thing. Make a mental note for yourself. Those are taking notes. Which shin is more stuck? And that's where you're gonna spend most of your time. So if you're doing reps of these and it looks like in, out, switch it up. One's in, one's out, one's in, one's out. And you're gonna do your bad side 3 times more than you do your good side. So if you're doing reps, 10 here, 30 on your good side, 30 on your bad side until you see them get equal. And then you can start doing them in the same amount. Anyone feel the outer muscle of their shin over here lighting up when you come out? This is a muscle that's weak on a lot of people right here. You should feel it tensing up. If you feel stuff tensing up when you're doing movements like this, that doesn't mean you immediately go to soft tissue. You're not like, oh, my shin hurts, so Haley said use the blue balls and my shin hurts, so I'm gonna do that. No, strategy would be roll out above or below the shin. So the hamstrings, which we won't get into today, but welcome to all questions after class, and the feet. That feels complete. Okay. Y'all wanna switch it up a little bit and try these and go in, out, to the side, make it funky. And you'll feel your body getting a hang of this really quick. With a lot of this stuff, it'll be like, I can't do it, and then your brain's like, and it breaks through the barrier, and now you've got shank rotation is what this is called if you're interested. Shank rotation. Okay, cool, come on out.
So I have surprise pain right here. Like, I had since once in the winter and rested and healed and I've been safely running since then. I was surprised there's touching here is like pretty specific pain.
Yeah,
I didn't know
so
it was there. I don't feel it when
you wouldn't normally feel it, but
I'm
this
feeling it now as I'm touching.
most likely that's an agitated, very weak, very atrophied muscle there
Okay.
that is becoming awake, and it's like, "Ugh, so sleepy, what the hell, I've been asleep for 20 years. So give it some
I was dancing
time.
in heels last night, so
Mhm.
that.
Oh yeah, totally. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that
I should
you're
dance in
really-
heels, but it's way more fun.
yeah, it's way cuter. Okay, let's do calf soft tissue. This is like the best and worst thing ever. A lot of people hate calf stuff. And I think I gave everyone, so you've got 3 options here. You got the baby option, totally perfect. Put your calf up on there. You can use the ball, twist it around. Got all this stuff going on here. You can shear it. You can come off of your bolster so you have more leverage and come onto the lacrosse ball or the tennis ball. And start working your way from side to side, up and down the calf, front and back. Come down like Tara is. That looks super comfy. Come in, and she's getting some opening in her chest while she does that, so double whammy. If you want to kick it up a notch, come to the lacrosse ball. If you want to kick it up a notch, cross one leg over the other, and then stop moving. Move very, very slow, like at a glacial speed, because fascia doesn't respond to fast glazing over it, except for in the superficial, which is what we were doing with this twisting. And even then it was slow. And then again, find your 360 breath, sense your body in space, make all of your mind on that tissue that you're on, and try to relax your calf and let that ball melt like a viscous, watery, into a viscous, watery ocean of your calf. Imagery. Yes. And then another little piece of fascia that I'll give you all is be in relationship with this ball as if there's a lung on that part of your body that the ball is touching. So the breath is actually pulsating throughout every cell of your body, up and down with each inhale and exhale. And so whether you're breathing down into your leg consciously or not, you are. So try to consciously breathe down into your leg. And we'll say pick 2 spots. Again, calf work. It's one of those things that you could do for, I don't know, I've been doing calf soft tissue work for 7 years, and I still get stuff out of it, and I still do it once a week. So fall in love with this
Is
practice.
there an idea of how long we should stay in each one of these, or does it depend?
Super debatable. It used to be thought that change couldn't be made after 90 seconds. So
Right.
that was the school of thought about 4 years ago. Now we're seeing testing coming back with soft tissue saying that the more you relax, the more you let it in, then you're not seeing change in that top fascia layer anymore, but there's fascia layers under that on other muscles that are smaller and closer. And in addition to that, you're also hydrating deep tissue as well and muscle.
Okay.
So you can stay as long as you want, as long as you can still breathe and as long as you're relaxed. You might not be making any more change after 5 minutes. I can't tell that to you, but there is also merit in your belief and your experience in being there and being in relationship with that place in your body that you weren't in relationship before, that it was unfelt, and now your attention is on it. And when your attention goes, your life energy flows. So you're literally flowing your life energy into a tissue. Why not? Right? Okay, so that's enough on the calf. Come to the other calf. How's everyone feeling with this soft tissue stuff? Is it feeling like sensations are happening and you're feeling things that you haven't felt before? Okay, cool. Drink lots of water and don't drink mercury.
Really good rules.
No matter who tells you. And I'm gonna set a timer for you guys here. And I'm actually doing pretty good on time. I'm pretty proud of myself. One of my main problems in life is being overly complex and ambitious. My watch timer helps too. Okay, so another good time to make a mental note. There's a super good chance that one of your calves is way tighter than the other and way more painful. I'm gonna guess it's your right. And a lot of that comes from driving when you're pushing millions of times on your gas pedal and your brake, and you're not doing it with your left leg, ever. Unless you drive a standard, and then you're still not doing it as much. So that would mean that for most of you, you're going to spend more time on that right calf. Is anyone in here, this is a silly question, but I'm trying to gauge my audience, only wearing traditional shoes or never exposed to a minimalist shoe, minimalist running shoe, minimalist walking shoe? You guys know what that is?
I don't know.
I'm permanently injured sesamoid bone, so I can't wear minimalist shoes outdoors, but I walk barefoot in the house.
Okay. I would say, what parameters of minimalist shoes are they? So one of the parameters of minimalist shoes are how wide is your toe box. I would say that you would be able to have a wide toe box. It's whether your shoe connects fully to your foot. So if your shoe's not connecting fully to your foot, I think it'd be safe for you to do that. Another one is whether you have a heel, a raised heel. Pretty much even a millimeter of raise in your heel can affect your postural alignment and push you onto your toes rather than your balls. So you could change that, but you might still need some padding.
Yeah,
Right.
I can tell you on the ball. I don't wear those.
Cool. Yeah, minimalist shoes are super cool. They can help do your calf work for you, so you don't have to spend a bunch of time here. Okay. For this next one, I'm gonna guess that I'm gonna combine some of these, and I'm gonna try to shorten them by combining them, but I will tell you that I've spent a lot of time here before. So what we're gonna do is combine soft tissue on the hip flexor. This is your muscle that's not only shortened, it's also weak at the same time. So we need to put your attention there so that your life energy flows there. And then we need to get it rehydrated, and then we'll start lengthening it in a loaded position, right? Because I told you, like, we're not gonna make change on it by just passively stretching it unless we do it for a long time. But then it's still not gonna make it stronger if we're not loading it. So first thing we're gonna do is hip flexors. I'm gonna give you a minute there, knowing that you could do 5 minutes or whatever. Next thing I'm gonna do is have you come to the meat of your quad. Quads are pretty much over-engaged in everyone in our culture because of our shoes. We're pushed forward with our heel a little bit. The quad turns on, grasps onto the kneecap so that it doesn't get to be watery and like smart and intelligent and roll all around because it's held so tight by the quad, which prevents that shank rotation and the ankle supination and pronation and locks up the feet. So it's as above, so below, all the way up and all the way down. So hip flexor, just pick somewhere in the meat of the quad, knowing that when you do this at home, you're gonna go all over your quad, all over it. There's some specific spots you can choose, but you'll find it yourself. So spot 1, spot 2, spot 3 is gonna be way down here by the knee, closer than you think you can get. So if you got your bolster or something, go ahead and come like up onto it a little bit if you want to take some weight off of it. And that way you're not uncomfortable here. And everybody go ahead and choose your tennis ball first here, and not your lacrosse ball. And if you're not feeling anything, then move to your lacrosse ball and see if you're getting some sensations then. If you're still able to maintain that 360 breath and stay relaxed and pay attention to your heart rate, and if it starts to elevate, you're no longer in your parasympathetic nervous system and your body wants to run or beat me up.
So is it kind of like where you can feel a tendon there?
Yeah, so the hip flexor is this tiny little thing. It feels like a pocket to me. It's like where my belly stops and my thigh begins. There's this little pocket right here, and it gets longer when my hip's in extension. So that area that you felt tight whenever you were shifting your weight forward without letting your hips twist, where you're trying to force your body into hip extension there. That's what you're looking for. And it's not that big, it's like this much of an area. So just pick a spot when you feel it and it's like,
Yeah, I got there.
and then relax and soften and breathe.
Can't put it like
Right, I know with hips and TFLs, it's out, everyone's like, I can't find it. So one knee up and out to the side might help a little bit. And your bolster might help a little bit, but play around with it, get relaxed, and you've got 1 minute here. Soften your face, Tara.
Tara or Sarah?
You too,
Okay.
Sarah. Soften your face, everyone.
Everyone. Poke at me.
And if you can relax your head, you can put it on that ball if you want. Usually my runners are hesitant to relax. They don't like it.
That's my whole life.
One of those permanent lessons.
So Tara Butler's fixed if you.
2, 1. Take that ball, roll it down to the meat of your quad. Just pick a spot where you're feeling it. And then use your breath to melt into the ball. I'll give you a couple more seconds and then I'll set the timer so I don't get carried away. Remember where your attention goes, your energy flows. So right now, you are quad. You breathe quad, you relax quad, you feel quad, you be quad.
We're joining some quad.
Right? And you just joined a cult if you didn't. You're welcome.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
Wow, I didn't have to survive.
Okay, 5, 2, 1. Move down by the kneecap. As close as you can get that ball, still on muscle, on your kneecap. Now, if we were doing something really specific and you had released more areas, you can let that ball dig up under your kneecap. Not today, though.
I feel that.
Yeah, not today. Yeah, so this, like, we could do a Happy Trails version, advanced version, as far as y'all wanna go. We could get into Turkish get-ups,
Not really.
tons of core work.
Not for the get up.
Down by the knee, yeah, never learned that one, huh? It's wild.
I love them.
You falling in love with soft tissue?
What else?
Tara hates soft tissue work.
Free for today.
Right.
Probably
We're-
just the thing she needs to do.
We're over halfway through the soft tissue work. So, yeah. And then while you're here, notice your tendency to let your mind get distracted and be quad again. And if you notice your tendency to get distracted and then you get mad at yourself for becoming distracted, don't. Play nice. I like that. Okay, slowly come out of that. Press yourself up onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Sit back on your feet. And stretch the bottoms of your feet for 10 more seconds. And if you have socks on, you're probably gonna have a little easier time with this foot stretch without your socks.
I'm not gonna do that one.
Okay. I almost brought you some little padded puzzle pieces, but I forgot them.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm not even close to sitting on 3 feet.
Yeah, so lots of information here. Okay, come on out and let's do the next side. So for the sake of just kind of hopefully getting through all of this, I'll make these times between short. When in reality, in your own practice, you could stay out of it as long as you can until you're ready to come in again. So we're starting with the hip flexor, roll the ball around millimeter by millimeter in tiny little movements until you find the spot. You will feel it. If you don't, keep moving around. Go towards your groin a little. A lot of times people will try to get way out in the outer hip and towards the groin. A little bit more intense. And then soften your whole body. Find a 360 breath that imitates the being of a lung inside your hip flexor. Relax and put your attention I can't say it enough. The more you relax and surrender, the more you will find that change happens for you. So just let go of what you want this practice to be and whether you want to do it anymore or not, and just be here. You're like, I want my money back, you're a psycho, I want to be in your cult. It's too bad.
I have leftovers in the car, I wanna eat.
She has leftovers in the car, I want to eat.
They were good.
Okay, down to the meat of the quad. What kind of leftovers?
Yeah, we went before coming.
What? Oh, bring them in and shit. That's true. It's fine too. Good. Okay, so in these positions on your belly, any pain in the low back, a couple things you can do is move that bolster from your upper body down to your lower belly and your hips so that you're not, the curve in your low back isn't so big. You need to put like a rolled up mat on your lower belly to tilt your pelvis up a little bit is what you would do to help with low back pain here. If you're at home and you're trying to figure it out, you can probably Google quad soft tissue and look at images and see what different positions people do it from. Good, 3, 2, 1, right above the kneecap.
Every time I move, my leg shoots.
Oh yeah, I meant to tell people with tennis balls that you'll need a mat. Sorry. Oops. They just say hurry. You could use your I can grab some mats, but I might grab everyone a mat if there's enough, because we'll have a little bit when we get to the glute in a second, and then you'll really leave. I don't want the ball sliding around, so it'll be a wild ride. 6.
There's a tennis ball.
So we do a class like this Wednesday morning.
Okay, you all come on out, grab your mat, pull it out so we have something for the tennis ball to stick to. You don't need to roll it out all the way, so if you want, just roll it halfway or whatever. Who doesn't have one? 1, 2, 3, perfect. Okay. There you go. Okay, next place is also hard to find. These are going to be the only 2 places, the hip flexor and the TFL, that are really hard to find. So obviously the hip flexor is going to be limiting your ability to kick off when your hip is an extension from your back leg, and then also limiting your ability to flex your leg forward right here. This all comes from hip flexor muscle right here. TFL is going to limit your ability for this hip, the standing hip, to stabilize and hold the hip up while you swing forward. So right now, TFL engaged, right now. You can feel it, it's right here. And it's kind of like the hip flexor, it's just like, hip flexor's right here, it's right beside it. And it's this tiny little tissue just right here. It's really kind of hard for people to find, and when you find it, I'm probably gonna hear some people go, or like, oh, or something. So remember, you can always switch over to this big ball if that's how you feel, because you're not gonna be able to grunt your way into this soft tissue practice. You have to surrender and relax. It's just one of those things. There's no cheating it. So on your side, you've got your forearm here. Once you get situated, you can lay on your bolster or your ball, and then just put that right next to the hip flexor over on the side, and start rocking your body from front to back with your knees bent. until you find it, and you'll know when you find it. Because it's gonna hurt. And then get as relaxed as you can. What was your name? Valerie? Yeah, so she's already laying her head down because she knows that for this practice, that's what she needs to relax. So you're welcome to do that. And then find surrender. And I'll be right back. For 5, 2, 1. Okay, you all stay where you are. Just move your ball off and look up at me unless that hurts your neck, and then situate yourself where you can see me. What I want you to do now is move from that TFL to your glute. But for those of you who are used to soft tissue work, I want you to do it in a different way. It's called a gluteal fold. At my house, I would do my gluteal fold with one of these 2 double balls because they're bigger. But again, it's just one of those things. I only had the tools I had. So from the TFL, just lengthen that bottom leg and then set your hip on there. And I want you to try, let me show you this from the back actually, to squish that glute up towards your tailbone. So I'm not on top of the glute squishing into my glute. I'm on the side of all the meat of the glute medius and the glute max, and I'm rolling in towards my tailbone, and as I get closer to the tailbone, I can pull and shift my body weight a little bit so that I'm hitting it from the side of the muscle and pushing in, not on top of it pushing down. So keep changing your position and shifting your weight until you can do that. And then when you find it, and you will, you can take weight off of it and relax by laying down. And since no one here has done, except for maybe Valerie, has done a ton of soft tissue work, I would recommend that you all find one good spot, squish the tissue in towards your tailbone, and lay down. And let me know if that feels too confusing or if you want me to explain it in a different way. Again, this is one of those tissues like the quad. The glute medius here is one of the, and the glute major are the main drivers of the muscular drivers of your legs for walking, and yet most of ours are asleep and can't even contract. But yet they still hurt and they're not long and hydrated, they're long and yet still dehydrated. So they're the opposite of the hip flexors. And not to go too much into opposition, but you'll notice that they're on the opposite side of your weak, tight hip flexors. You have your weak, long glutes. So there's always an equal and opposite. 5, 4, 3. Okay, come on out. Sit back on your toes for about 10 seconds. Notice if this is getting easier. Notice if your pinky toe can't touch the floor. It's just something to notice. Okay, that's over 10 seconds. So come on out and let's do the other side. I promise you we're almost done with soft tissue. I think we've got 2 more things after this, but we're gonna break it up with some movement. So legs are going to be bent. You can start on your forearms so that you can shift your weight around and find your TFL. It feels like a little pocket between your hip bone and your thigh bone. And when you find it, it will feel intense. So relax as much as you can. Switch to your dodgeball if you need to. And And don't be afraid to switch to your dodgeball. That's why you guys all have one, because you might need it.
There's PTSD with that too, so.
With the dog, no. Switch
Well,
to,
you are younger, but yeah, we played dodgeball in my years.
yeah, they outlawed
Take
aggressive
care of that.
dodgeball by the time I got to elementary school.
That was fight or flight for
It's-
sure.
We had some real bad Red Rover, but
Yeah.
really dangerous Red Rover. Some broken bones. Good, so this is another one you can use your double balls for. If you can be there and relax your upper body, that might be something to try, just because you,
Such an awkward.
I know it is awkward, isn't it, because of all sorry. It's almost like we need little tiny cortisballs too.
Yeah.
Mini dodgeballs. Good.
Hurts so good though.
Right. Just keep softening, send your attention there. Now move over into that gluteal fold. And you can just stay in that position and start rotating your body. Try to squish your glute towards your tailbone. So the weight's gonna be to the side a little bit, not right on top of it. And that's, again, not to say that we would never put weight directly down to roll out the glutes. We would, for other things besides walking. But this would be, with the double balls specifically, the best way, the quickest way to pick one. And that's kind of what I've had to do with everything here, is to pick one, pick the thing that I've found the most important and give it to you, while also telling you that this is just probably a tenth of it. Check in with your 360 breath. No need for the low belly tone here because you're relaxed. So it's okay to just breathe long. And as a nuance for your breath, when you're doing soft tissue work or any sort of restorative work, it would be worthwhile to find a breath that is as if you were trying to fall asleep, or as if you were about to fall asleep. Quiet, slow, doesn't have to be super big, can be, but it would be worthwhile to try to find that breath. Okay, come on out of that. Sit back on your toes. Take 10 seconds to stretch the bottoms of your feet. If you want to, we're finished with soft tissue work for a moment. Actually, let's just go ahead and get the last two out of the way. Let's just finish the soft tissue work here and do it kind of all at once. So a couple seconds on the toes. You can do Tai Chi twist in your toe seat if you want.
Oh,
Might be too much for those of us whose tops of our feet are, or bottoms of our feet are really tight. Okay, and then we've got two more. I'm gonna give you my favorite one last. It's gonna feel so good, it'll be a treat. I think that everyone will benefit the most from using their kickball. We won't call it dodgeball. For a dodgeball or kickball? They do make little ones of these. Yeah, so these are called Corgis balls, the real ones. But these are like under $20 for all of these. So if you want, I don't know, for me that just made more sense. So next is gonna be the lats. The lats are like the glutes are the main driver of the lower part of your body. The lats are the main driver of your upper body. They're this huge muscle that is involved with the serratus anterior, is underneath it, inside of your ribs. You'll be able to hit that too while rolling out the lats. And it wraps around your back, so it can limit breathing if it's dehydrated and tight, and if your breathing is not going well, I can't tell you what all things could or will mess up. So lats are super important. I like to start on the low ribs, roll from front to back. I'm gonna give you a minute here to find a spot, knowing that there's a million spots. This is a huge muscle, and you can make your way up to, and I would say maybe one of the most important parts here would be kind of by your armpit. You're gonna get a lot of sensation up there by your armpit because all the tendons attach there. And a big part of massage tactics is you can hit the whole muscle and the whole fascial area a lot, and a lot of work can be done there, but if you only have a certain amount of time, the quickest thing to do is hit the tendons where they attach, and that's the densest part of the tissue because those tendons are what moves the muscle around, and if you can loosen up that tendon and hydrate the tendon, it'll make the biggest difference quickly. So if you needed to make yourself a quick practice, then you would know that whatever you decide to do with this soft tissue thing, just find one spot and stay there and relax and let that be enough if you only have 15 minutes or 10 minutes. From this position, you can also roll up into your chest, and we're not going to do it today, but a really worthwhile spot to hit would be right where your top arm bone connects into the socket there, right in the front of your chest. So we're not going to do that today, but that's another really good one that you can get from this position. In between, go ahead and roll into your belly and pat up your pelvis if you have low back stuff. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate that right now just because a lot of people do have low back stuff and some of you said you did. So if I can get my body up on my bolster where my pelvis hangs down and my hip points are moving towards the floor. So rather than arching my back more like this, which can happen when you're on your belly because you're being put into extension, which is back bend, or this is extension. It's anything that goes back. So if you can get your pelvis to kind of hang off of your implement, then that'll put you in a posterior tilt and it'll protect your low back. Ball, big ball. And what I want you to do now is the front of your neck. So just like your linea alba, you've got your trachea that runs down the front of your neck. Don't press into that. You'll get a really quick warning not to. I did bring something to pin up my hair for this one because my hair always gets caught in the ball. So you're gonna start with one side of your neck. Here, you'll find a lot of benefit from twisting the ball. You can move up by your ear, kind of demonstrating here, all the way up. You can move this arm into internal rotation, palm faces up into the back. Move it all the way over into your trap and your shoulder. Use your other hand to twist the ball and bind up some of that skin so you get shear. And since we're working with shear here, also, which is gonna wring out that top layer of fascia, it can be useful to be in motion a little bit. But it can also be useful to just stay and relax when you find a spot. And you can also take your big ball when you find your spot and twist it in both directions. And you will feel the facial tissue and the muscles in your face being pulled by this ball when you twist it. That is a good thing. When your face is starting to age, a big part of it is your facial muscles are weak and dehydrated. A big part of aging. Part of that is because you don't chew enough hard to chew food. So that's what keeps your facial muscles strong. But remember, there's a superficial back line that hooks up on the forehead and comes all the way down. There's a superficial front line too. So your face muscles are being pulled by your tight neck. If you're on one side, move to the next side. Good. Does this feel really good, y'all? It feels amazing to me. It makes me like drool. On accident. Okay, find your breath. Keep looking for the 360 breath. This one I find is a good one to have like skin on skin contact for. So like a tank top. It's really good for this one. this might be obvious to some of you, but you can take this same technique and roll out and twist out the muscles on your face. 3, 2, 1, and over to the other lat.
I don't remember what you did. How did you do it? You tried to match. It must be this way.
I could not tell you what side I did. I try to stay away from giving people rights unless I have to, because it really complicates my speaking. Do one side, and if it feels like it doesn't need it, then do the other side. Another thing that you could get, proprioception, which is your body's mapping of a space on itself, your brain's mapping of a space on your body, is you can now see how much you're breathing into your side body here. So if you couldn't feel it with the strap, you can definitely feel whether you're expanding your ribs in your 360 breath out to the side or not. And typically the side body and the back body are what is missed in breath. And the breath, again, with that gentle expansion and contraction, pulsatory nature, can open your body up from the inside in the same way that doing fascia work and contraction and relax work opens your body from the outside. So we work from outside in and inside out, both at the same time, by using the breath and the implements together. Okay, come on out of that. And then everybody come to seated. Done with soft tissue work, I'm pretty sure. Let's just say if I forgot anything, then we're still done. How about that? I want you all to come to seated. Grab something to drink if you want. If anyone needs to take a little break, we've got just under an hour left, so go ahead and take a break now. Like I might move on without you, but it's okay. You'll get your video and you won't miss much. So, yep. Water would be really good to have right now since you just finished soft tissue work. So all that hydration that just went into those areas was lost from your circulatory system and should go be replaced. I always tell you to chug water after a massage. Same thing with soft tissue work.
Question.
Yeah, please.
This is more of a point in putting like pressure to relax as opposed to like foam rolling, and like what's your thoughts on foam rolling, and not just foam rollers, but there's like the harder rollers.
I use them all. I don't use the really soft foam rollers because unless someone is very, very injured, because they won't make enough of a change. So foam roller would be to a ball, like using your forearm very gently as compared to using a palm or even a fist. It's the same thing. It's just different massage techniques different soft tissue techniques that are trying to emulate and successfully emulating massage techniques. So when we foam roll, it would be just like a soft, superficial fascia changes are being made. Like the massage would use their palm and just pull, like a Swedish massage type thing. So yeah, foam rollers, yes, but foam rollers, yes, and also we can do better, and with a dollar ball. So I don't use them except for in special occasions. I do use a PVC pipe for people who've done a lot of quad work, and it's a rolling shape, and that way I can get more. It's so hard that it's gonna be like putting your forearm down.
It's not a roller, it's like textured, and I roll it over my quads a lot. Is that like?
Yeah,
the tennis ball is better, or maybe that, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's better. I am saying try it and see if it rehydrates better. And we're gonna go into why the quads need to be rehydrated, because essentially what you're trying to do is to get your quad to turn off. And we'll work on that in standing. So if your quad's turning off and you're doing your soft tissue work with your foam roller and everything's going well, then don't move forward. But my guess is that you're going to get more out of the tennis ball. And you're going to be able to find specific areas and work on that area rather than just like, oh, okay, I'm kind of hitting it all. And also there's the tendency with those rollers that people just want to like, They're like rolling out their dough. And that's not how fascia works. You've got to surrender. You've got to relax. You've got to stay in stillness because fascia is viscous. And if it's not viscous, that's when it's bound up. And when you press it, it's gonna slowly open up, like a silly putty kind of. Like if I just hit silly putty with my palm, it's not gonna do anything. But if I press my palm into silly putty, I can change the shape of it, right? If I pull silly putty really fast, it's gonna maybe break or become weak, right? If I pull it super slow, it'll kind of maintain its shape and just stretch. So fascia is a lot like putty in those ways. There's some differences, but it's a decent analogy. Okay, let's move on. Come to seated, come off of your block if you can, and then I just want you to put your legs out in front of you, put your heels on the ground, and start to rock from side to side. So I'm gonna give you the novice version of this first, and then I'm going to amp it up a little bit. So moving my feet closer to me for more internal rotation and external rotation. Do you see how this is the same as Tai Chi twist? And do you see how it's the same as walking? My foot pronates, everything spirals up, my shin hopefully externally rotates to let my femur bone externally rotate in the socket. Just like in walking, my spine begins to twist. So this is Tai Chi twist and seated. It all comes back to that. This spiraling nature is what the body does. It's how it deals with forces. So this is gonna start to look, you're using your hands like this. If this is going really well and you wanna amp it up, take the hands off. Start adding in a gentle twist. You can add in your Tai Chi arms and just start moving and mobilizing your hips. If your hips aren't moving very well through this, then there is almost a guarantee that your hips are not mobile when you're walking and those forces are going somewhere else so that you can still walk without using your hips.
And if I can like really feel the like stuff I have in there, should I still
Back
use
off.
Okay.
Yes, you should definitely still use your arms. You should, yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna cue you up for this in a second, April, but everybody else, come over to one side, and you're gonna be in this 90-90 position. You can try it, use your fingertips though. From here, see if you can make this 90-degree angle with the front and the back, and flex your foot just a little bit. So this might look a little more like this for you. That's fine with me. Just work towards this for now. So most likely, it's the internal rotation right here that comes from the strength of the glute in this back leg that's not letting you do this. But however far into it you get, rotate towards your front leg, and then use your fingertips at first. I want you to try to hinge. So think that hip flexor, you're trying to shorten that hip flexor, but now we're loading it. So use your fingertips and see if you can move your spine, whole spine, without doing a whole spine mechanic workshop here, towards your legs. If that's going pretty well, so here you'll feel a stretch in your front glute, but we're loading it slightly, so it's not a passive stretch. The next version of this would be to take your fingers off, ground down through all of your legs. Resist the gravity that's happening right now by resisting away, and stay in this loaded stretch. So find something that works for you. Again, here's my easiest here. Activate your legs and you're golden, you're still working. Hinge a little bit, that's number 2. Flex your feet, still working, still great. Don't try to take what's not yours. And then here's 3. So y'all stay here for a minute. Everybody look up at me really quick. If you are curled in like this so that you can be further, that's not hip extension. So let's put a little bit of upward motion extension in the upper back, just like you did when you were on your belly, and hold that and only come down as far as you can without curling in. You can do this like this. Just lay on your back, cross your legs like this, and just push this away from you if you want. And then if you're not feeling the stretch there, then come over to the wall and try it here. Okay, let's check in with a 360 breath. Make sure your back leg is grounding just as strongly as your front, just like your back leg works in walking. And soften what can be softened. Everything you're not using. You're not using your face to do this. Your jaw. Okay, so to come out of this, slowly push yourself back up. If this is pretty easy for you, then let's try moving without your hands. Otherwise, no harm, no foul. Use your hands, make your way to the other side. Set it up again. Same thing, you're gonna end up kind of like this. You're welcome to try to spread it out into more of a 90-90. You can see that I look different here than I did on the other side. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but it's because this is where I have limited mobility right in the front of this hip. So earlier, I was able to do this really easily. On this side, it's different. So I do this side 3 times more than I do the other side until it's better. Maybe I don't even work on the other side. But move yourself to facing your leg. For me on this side, just facing my leg is enough. This is plenty. I can start to hinge a little. If I want, I can take the weight off. When I do that, I feel a ton of torque in my low back. I don't want to feel that. I want to support myself because this isn't a grunt through it practice. So this is good. And I would stay there longer and activate my legs more to try to make a change on this side. If you are making notes on your sides that are different, if you're searching for your own asymmetries, then this would be a good place for you to make notes. And if you have removed your hands, but you also found that you had limited range on this side, then guard against pushing forward into a place that you don't need to be and use your hands. Check in with your breath. And this time put your attention in your hips and be hips and think mobile. Think water going down into your hips with each breath as you gently expand your whole musculature around your pelvis on inhale, and then on exhale, you contract and relax it and you can soften. Okay, come on out. Move through a couple of these back and forth a little bit just to free any energy that might have gotten stuck from the stillness. And now you have another thing to do to soften between. So I like to call these erasers. You've got your bounce, you've got your Tai Chi twist, now you've got this. It's the same thing. And then grab either your strap. If you don't have if you didn't get a long resistance band, grab a strap. I think I got everyone one, and lie down on your backs. And since this is not a spine clinic, I'm not going to give you a lot of spine instruction here. But if you feel your low back coming way up off the floor, then bend your knees quite a bit. And if you feel your low back pressing way into the floor, then tone your low belly a little bit. And either way, search your exhale and find that tone. And then I want you to bend both knees for a moment for everyone and grab your strap, and however is easiest for you, hook it onto the ball of your right foot, I said. We're all on the same side. Okay? Now from there, the first way that I would hope to be able to do this is with the bottom leg extended. For some people that is a little bit too painful on the low back. You can also put your head and your shoulders up on a bolster to take that low back load out. So try to extend your bottom leg long, flex both feet, press the ball of your foot into the strap. So if your strap's on the arch, take it off, put it on the ball. And then I want you to try to do that shin rotation here and see if you can just do a couple just as a little experiment. Notice as the complexity goes up, your shin's ability to rotate goes down. So we want to teach the shin to rotate so well that it can do it anywhere. And then if your head's not relaxed, go ahead and relax it. Hold that strap with your right hand. If your left foot's on the ground, ground it super strongly. If your left leg is all the way flat, ground the hamstring or the upper leg down as much as you can. And then I want you to
with your knee extended, so however far away from your body your leg has to be to extend your leg straight. So it might look like this, especially for some of my men in here. It's nothing wrong with that. They just happen to have a little bit tighter hamstrings. Loose hamstrings don't correlate with long life or anything, so you won't get too hung up on it. And then I want you to take that strap with your right hand and start to bring your leg over to the left. As soon as you feel your hips change, like your left leg pops up or your right hip pops off the floor, you've met your edge. Press your ball mound into that strap so you feel a stretch through your calf, and sweep your leg across your body till you feel a stretch in that TFL spot where you rolled out on your side hip. And then from here, start to externally rotate your foot away from the inner leg line and towards the inner leg line. So I'm giving a demonstration here. April, be super careful.
Okay.
Real careful. And use your hands to take some of the load from your leg, right? So you've got pretty strong arms,
Yeah.
and I can take some of the load from you if I need to, so let me know. Good. So this is the first place you're seeing full rotation in your leg. It's down here on your back. Keep trying to externally rotate that leg and internally rotate it. And if your leg is not straight, I'm gonna try to get it straight so that the knee's extended. So you'll just have to take some of the, just give yourself some more length. Yeah, keep trying to press it straight, and you can move the foot as far away from your body as you need to. Good, find that external rotation in your leg. Stay there inside the stretch, and then press through the big toe mound of your foot and try to press the strap away just on the big toe mound side. This is supination of the foot. Good. Everybody ground your right hip down even more. Set in a 360 breath, tone your low belly. The last seconds here, but I want you to keep everything as it is and just roll your whole body onto your belly. So if that sounded crazy, I'm gonna give a demonstration here. Straps in the right hand, bring your left arm up overhead so that you can roll. Slowly bring the leg down, bring it out, and try to roll your pelvis onto the floor flat. And you can put your strap down when you get there. How you doing, April?
Good.
Good. Okay. So you're gonna find yourself on your belly with your right leg now out to the side. So y'all take a look at me here. If this feels insane to you, then just bend that knee, right? So this is what we're going for right here. It's just a pelvic release. If it's really hard for you to do this, chances are there's a ton of tension up in your groin and in your pelvis. So bend the knee to take a little bit of a load off of it, and then relax. And you've just got some time here to surrender and let this area of your pelvis release. And you can drop your strap. Now as you stay here longer, you should find a little bit more movement in your legs, so you can start to work your leg up towards your belly even more. So it's kind of like you're in tree pose on your belly. And then if this is all going really well and you want to work on more here, try to externally rotate your whole right leg. So that would mean your toes would point up towards the ceiling. And you'll feel it opening in through your groin more, and you'll also feel what your glute medius and glute max are doing, which is contracting to externally rotate that leg, which is exactly what they do in walking, to externally rotate the leg as you kick off with your back leg. So this is your swing leg. Okay, come on out, roll onto your back. From your back, bend your knees. If you can, hold your legs here above your body, like you're gonna do some core work, and ground down through your arms. Bring your arms down to a T. If that's too much, you can put your feet down, but put your heels on the floor rather than your toes, and flex your feet a lot. Either way, flex your feet a whole lot, and then you can actually, if you can reach your block, put it between your legs and squeeze that block with your inner legs. Who needs a block?
Or your ball, yeah, grab your ball. That's even better. Thank you, Mark. That was brilliant. And then I want you to bring both knees with the feet flexed and the toes coming towards the face. So feel the four corners of your feet, even though you're not standing on them right now. And I want you to bring your whole legs and your hips over to the right as much as you can without your spine changing. So ground down, bring your arms out to a T, turn your palms down, ground your palms down. You'll feel if your upper back starts to move up off the floor. So saying spine without your spine changing was wrong. If your upper back starts to twist with the motion, that's when you've met your edge. And then move side to side. And now you are waking up to the loaded twist. So we load this twist in an easier place on your back because it can be learned here. Now, when you train this in this place that's, yes, it's requiring more muscles to do this, the reason we need to activate all these muscles is so that when you're walking, they're so ready to go, they're so intelligent that you don't have to think about it. Your spine just twists and you can run and walk and your body knows what to do. And you should find that as you move from side to side with a little bit of tone in your low belly and a 360 breath and an attitude of surrender and curiosity, that you can go to each side a little bit more as time goes on. Good. And if you've got your knees bent and shins up in the air and your knees are way into your chest, stack them over your hips for the last few rounds here. Now, this is awesome core work. I hope you guys feel good about this being core work. It really is. I don't know what I was gonna say, but it is. Okay, come back to the center. Set both feet on the floor, outer edges of your feet to the width of your mat. Take your ball out from between your legs. And keep your arms in a T and let your knees rock from side to side so that you move them just like you did a few moments ago when you were seated into the 90-90 or internal-external rotation. So, not to be a broken record, but here's your whole body spiral again. So this is your Tai Chi twist on your back. We've done it in seated, we've done it on your back, and to do it in walking would be the goal. Good. Okay. Let's do the other side of your leg now. So extend your right leg long, hook the strap around your left leg. Find the closest you can to a relaxed, fully extended knee. So if your hamstrings are tight, that's fine. Just give yourself more slack on the strap. So you can move your hands way down the strap. And then see that your low back is neither very, very flat towards the floor or way, way, way off the floor. So tilt your pelvis around a little bit to correct either of those and bend your right knee and put it on the floor if you need some assistance doing that. Once you've got all that in place, ground the ball of your foot into that strap and flex your toes towards your face. Roll your left hamstring or your right hamstring that's on the floor towards the floor. So if you are way off the floor with your leg that's on the ground, ground that leg on the ground down a lot. And if you can't get it to ground, then give yourself some more slack in your strap because you're moving into low back flexion and not hip. And then start to sweep your leg across your body until you feel that outer hip stretch. And when you feel the left hip start to pop up off the floor at all, then you're not in your outer hip stretch, you're in a low back twist. So keep that back, not the outer, but the bottom part of your left butt cheek on the floor. Find the stretch, you'll feel it in your TFL and your glute. And then if you desire or feel that you need more to learn here, try your external rotation and internal rotation and watch your femur start to spiral all the way up from your ankle through your shin into your hip. And see if you can smooth this out. So it'd be kind of jerky at first. And then slowly roll yourself over onto your belly for the pelvic release. See if you can get all around to that belly and slowly work the leg towards a 90-degree angle with your hips. I am gonna kind of speed things up a little tiny bit for the rest of it so we can get through it all. Good. See if you can move a little bit deeper into it, maybe by extending your leg or maybe by walking the leg up. Slowly roll your way back onto your back. We're gonna do a really specific core exercise that's gonna relate to walking. So you guys on your back, you can stand laying down. I'm gonna talk you through this as I demonstrate it. Right knee is gonna bend, foot on the floor, left leg extended. Left arm is going to be up alongside your ear or just kind of out of the way in the T position. And then I want you to set your 360 breath in place and use the bottom of your exhale to find a little bit of a low belly tone. And then with your left leg, I just want you to lift it off the floor about an inch or two, not way up by your other leg. Just lift it off the floor about an inch or two. Take your right arm and reach it up and over towards the left. And take 2 breaths here. And feel your belly come on and light up. Do you see the twist that comes in walking? As you exhale, come out. Let's do 2 more just like this with 3 breaths at the top. So left leg's gonna lift just an inch. Look down at it. You should be able to see your toes. Lift your head, reach your right arm and your head towards your left toes. 2 breaths down into the low belly. Come down and relax. 1 more, just like that. It doesn't take a lot of this stuff. And do you see the spiral as it relates to walking? This is your arm swinging, walking, and your swinging leg opposing one another. For 3, 2, 1, come on down, bend both knees, place both feet on the floor, take a couple of windshield wipers in each direction, soften your breath, and let's move to the next side. I didn't get that. Could you try talking? So really specific correctives, and they should feel hard at the beginning, but they'll become easier and they'll become not having to make an effort to do it. So set it up on the other side. Left leg's gonna bend, right leg is straight. Left arm's gonna be kind of out of the way, up by your ear or something. Leg lifts, arm lifts, reach towards that leg, lower it. Everyone's probably trying to lift it a little too high. It's just the heel is an inch off the ground. Just an inch. Lift the head, reach towards that leg that's lifting. Take 2 breaths, come down. Good. Soften everything that you don't explicitly need here. So you don't need any tension in your face. You don't need your hands to clench. Good. Last one. Nice hold at the top. Keep reaching. Feel that spiral from the shoulder, spiraling all the way down to that foot. 3, 2, 1. Roll over onto your belly. Press yourself up into hands and knees facing me. And then from hands and knees, walk to your right so that you're in a laterally or side bended hands and knees. Ground both palms and pull the palms towards you without moving them. So this is an isometric contraction here. We're just contracting the muscle while loading it. So ground the palms super strong, pull them towards you, keep all that going, and then come back into a child's pose without losing any of the tension. And then come forward. And let the tension go on the way forward. And then reset it in place. Hands ground, fingertips ground, keep it all loaded. Pull the arms isometrically back towards you and come back. As soon as you can't hold that tension anymore in your hands, then you've met your edge. 1 more just like that. Good. Now you can tuck your toes here and you get a free arch of your foot stretch. And now walk your hands back to the center and come to the next side. So I usually do those in like reps of 10 or 20. You're opening up through your lats. This is helping the swinging of your arms. So stack just like you were in tabletop, stack your hips right over your knees. That's how you're gonna come into it, not way back here to begin with, but forward. Hands are right under shoulders.
Pull those hands back, drag the palms, slowly come back. You'll feel a big stretch maybe out of your hip. Might feel it all the way up the, probably all the way up the side body on the lengthened side. Good. One more just like that. And then come into tabletop and we'll just mobilize the spine. This is how dirty I am. My tick just fell off me. Who am I? I get to kill it. Okay, you can.
Welcome to summer, baby.
Okay, let's do a little bit of spinal waves. So I'm gonna make this really easy for you just to kind of relax the back. The pelvis will tilt in. Next, the spine will slowly flex up, and finally the neck will look in. Originate this from the pelvis, since this isn't really totally about the neck class. So rotate this pelvis away from you, and then let the spine extend and come forward and look forward. So it's like a snake waving. From here, pelvis moves first, then low belly, then the chest and upper back, and then finally the neck. And one more just like that, from the pelvis. Don't let the head move first. Everything stays still except for the pelvis. Good. Awesome, come on out of that. Everyone roll your mat in half. I just wanna take the knees out of the equation here. I don't think you'll be able to do this one. It's gonna be knee heavy, so you can just kind of pick it up for later. We're gonna work in the short lunge here. So the short lunge is your access to walking down on your knees. It's very similar. From the short lunge, I want you guys to I'll just demonstrate it while everyone's moving. Left leg comes forward. Set kind of a long lunge, and then just move in and out, just like you did before with no instructions. You see how much you can move in and out, how much you can move forward. And then what I want you to do is come back into the lunge and set a little bit of a posterior tilt. So the tendency here is to let the low back curve a little too much, which translates into your walking, that one I was talking about. And holding this posterior pelvic tilt, you'll feel your hip flexors open. Tone your low belly, breathe 360, and then see how far you can come forward. Put your hands on your ASIS right here, the hip. And then when you put your hands there, notice if one's way higher than the other, right? Level them out. Notice if one's twisted forward and one's twisted back. Level it out. Tuck the pelvis a little bit. You got your top of your foot here or the ball, whichever is accessible for you. And then as you come forward, just like in standing, try to stop that hip from either hiking up a bunch or from twisting. And notice you probably can't go very far at all. So this is the work right here. Should feel a big stretch through the front of the quad from the action of lifting your front hip points. Stay here, soften everything that can be softened, and see if you can re-educate your hips to move in neutral. Super good. We'll slowly come out of that, take a child's pose, and move to the next side. So child's pose, for those of you, if there's anyone who doesn't practice yoga, just the legs folded and the spine resting over the legs. Good. Soften everything that can be softened, and then come forward and do the next side. Just like you did on the first side, find a long lunge and just move back and forth and see if you can sense what's happening. Most likely what's happening is the right hip's popping up and the left is down. Square that on the horizontal plane so that it's even. The other thing that's going to be happening is a low back bend. Take that out by putting a little posterior pelvic tilt in, and you should feel that back glute starting to come on and fire. We're going to work with that specifically in a moment, so I won't go over it too much. And then see what you got. And you'll get a huge stretch in the front of the hip flexor here in the quad. Keep checking in with the hips being square. Keep looking at your body. Make the attention to your body the meditation here. Flow your mind energy into it with an attitude of seeking to find what is true. Good. All right, slowly come out of that. Step forward, come into standing. hop over to the wall. You're gonna do a top of the foot stretch here. So just step forward with one foot, let's say left foot forward, right leg back, and then look for knee extension in both legs. So if you're not able to get, well, your back leg's not gonna come into full extension most likely because the top of your foot, and then everyone, the top of your foot is on the floor, but you wanna work that towards extension. Notice if your body weight's way shifted forward, make your step smaller. If you can't get that back knee towards straight, make your step smaller. If your hips are really twisted or one's hiking way up, make your step smaller and work within your range. Another way, I'm gonna show you a way to advance this would be, so you've got your standing leg here and working on this back leg here. You would advance this by adding the swing of the arms. This would be another way to keep making this interesting and fun and applicable to walking. Last little bit here, to work with the supination and pronation that happens in walking, what you can do is let your hips twist. So from the foot, start to move outward spiraling, and then let your hips move last, and then let the hips move first back in, then the femur, then the shin, then the ankle. And this can turn into these super fun little squats. This would turn into like a goddess squat here, and then from the foot and rotate back in. And I've got this really funky knee, I call these like knee insurance things. So if you feel pain in your knee when you're doing something like this, don't do it to the extent that you feel dangerous pain. But also, what happens if I never put my knee in this weird twisted position, and then one day it goes in that position, and then you blow your kneecap like my dad, and you pull and you explode that tendon, and then they make you get surgery, even though your daughter told you not to. Okay, cool. Next foot. Start on the wall. Feel your ASIS points. Adjust your step as needed. If your hip is hiking way up, adjust your step. Bring it closer. If your pelvis is twisting a bunch, adjust your step. If you can't get your knees both to extend and they're bent, adjust your step. If your body weight is shifting way forward and it's not stacked over that standing leg, adjust your step and meet yourself where you're at. And then you can try a little bit of arm swings if you want. And I showed you, you'll have on your video that crazy squat stuff. It gets really fun and it turns into dance and capoeira and really fun movements, but this is where it all starts, is by fixing your walking. So I apologize if I'm kind of speeding through this. I told you guys my specific problems in life is trying to include too much, but I could not imagine leaving any of it out. So come to standing, and let's all just lean against the wall real quick since you're by the wall. Make your feet go away from the wall just a little bit to take some load. And then notice if your kneecaps are way lifted and your quads are on. So taking the load and leaning against the wall, when you come down and you shake your quads like this, if they're totally passive, they'll just like wiggle and jiggle and you'll get to see your sweet little stuff all jostled. This is what it would look like if not. Nothing is moving. Okay? So practice that a little bit and then see if you can get your knee into extension and keep it. So that what's gonna happen most likely is when you get your knee into extension, your quads are gonna lock. They don't need to do this in walking. This is not only wasted energy, it's pulling on your kneecaps and causing knee pain. So like Tara has had to, you can spend hours sitting here jostling your quads until you get them to turn off, and it could take a while. So you can't find it now, don't worry about it. Once you get it though, if you do get it, start walking your legs back. Try to bring yourself to neutral, putting your tailbone back of the spine, top back of the spine and head on the wall. And then see if you can keep it. And then walk your feet back more and see if you can keep it. Okay, so the next progression of this is that checking to see if your quad is over engaged would be applicable to every yoga posture you do. So it's gonna work in a lot of yoga postures, but it's also gonna overwork. So when you're doing your practice, just get used to reaching down and shaking them and be like, that shaking helps turn them off too, okay? Everyone come back over to your mat.
And we're gonna work on the back body just a bit. This is gonna be your kind of a little bit more intense, specific activation. It's gonna force your whole posterior chain to work together, and it's called Founders. So if you wanna know more about Founders, tons of videos on YouTube. I'm just gonna give you the basics. So step your feet to hip width distance apart. We also call this ugly chair. Hands are gonna start on the ASIS or the hip joints, and then see if you can set yourself in what feels like neutral and try to get your quads to turn off. After that, you're working on this pronated version of the feet. So how you can do it here is just like you did with the strap, spiral your legs inwards. So it starts with your feet just like it did in the strap, and you'll feel your whole thigh bone now rolling in and out. So do that in standing. And as you roll your thigh bones in, you'll feel the outer edges of your feet lose the weight. Balance that out. Add weight to the outer edge. So you spiral in, but don't let your feet come off the floor. From there, just start to, with your legs spiraled in and the outer edge grounded, bend at your hips. Don't bend your knees though. Keep them pretty, just micro bended, and start to shift your weight back and see that your spine does not bend. So you don't need to go very far here. You'll feel there's no way you can do this without your glutes turning on. So keep shifting your weight into the heels, keep shifting your weight into the heels, knees stacked right over the ankles, feet are externally spiraling, shift your weight back, back, and back. This is then another version of this. This turns into a lot of different things. So let's just see if we can stay here. If you're feeling your spine flex at all, or you can't find full shoulder range, arms are gonna come down. They're gonna stay on your hips so that you can work where you're at now and get where you wanna be. Keep shifting your weight back. Balls of the feet might even feel like they're gonna pop up off the floor. Okay, come on out, Tai Chi twist. Does anyone not feel their posterior chain or the back of their body working?
Is there a request to keep the quads soft while doing Founders?
Yes, yeah, so that's something I should have touched on during that, and I missed. It's a good place. You don't need your quads at all in Founders. So when you're doing this at home, quads are on, that's a good place to work. That would be the first place. That's why I put this back to back. The first complexity to add to seeing if you can keep your quads off would be doing it in Founders, because I know posterior chain's what's working here. Don't need my quads at all. So I would reach down, all right, they're off. I'm gonna go a little deeper. I reach down, all right, they're off. I'm gonna go a little deeper, right? If you're moving into it and your quads are still on, thank you, Tara, then you're not doing it, and you're not doing yourself any good. So millimeter by millimeter, I start to work myself down, and it's gonna look way different than your normal chair, and I'm not saying normal chair is wrong.
Can you go
Okay.
over the twist again? Like, when do you twist in or out during that?
I can, but let's get through let's see if we can get through all this first. So we're super, super close to the end. For the rest of it, I want everyone to use a block. And I will allow, I do apologize, y'all. No matter how hard I try not to bite off more than I can chew, I always do. So we're gonna go over a tiny bit, but I'm gonna save questions for the end. So come to the wall, have your block. This is another one to check and see if your quad is off. Just like in any posture that you're doing with your walking work, always check and see if your quad is off, because it's a good chance it's overactivating. So step up onto your block, hands on your hips, one hand on the wall if you need it. If your feet hang off the block, let your toes hang off and not your heel. Shift your weight back. It's gonna be way harder on the block. Check your quad. Mine's not really able to work here totally off, so I've got to really put time into that. Yet I'm still gonna do this work because this work right here is so important that, unlike Founders, I am still gonna do it even if my quad is too tight, just to like give myself some wrongness in what I said. All right, so hips, check if they're twisting, check if they're level, and then these are called pelvic list. So flex both feet as if you're standing on them. And then what I want you to do is laterally or side tilt your hip to reach that floating foot towards the floor without bending your standing knee at all. lock it out, and then come up and see how high you can lift it, and notice if you twist and then keep going. So a lot of times people burn out after like 5 of these. I would try to work your way up to doing 20 with a comfortable leg, because this is what helps you walk downhill. Do you see that right here? This is how you don't bend your knees walking downhill. It's with your TFL. It stabilizes on your leg right here. So from here, do a couple pelvic tilts and then reach your toe forward and set it on the ground. And then once I find the edge of my low range of my pelvic tilt, that's when I can bend my knee. So try it. And then press into that foot, lift yourself back up, find the top. This is your walking uphill. And then find the bottom of the pelvic tilt, find the range, then bend the knee, right? So retraining, re-educating the body. The knee doesn't bend until the hips have done their work.
What's the, it's an anterior or posterior tilt that's happening in the pelvis?
The pelvis is in neutral. It depends on your specific presentation,
Gotcha.
whether you're gonna need an anterior or posterior tilt. You need a posterior tilt, you need an anterior tilt, right? So I can't tell you that, but what I can tell you is you're looking for your hip points to be in neutral and the low back curve to neither be flat or to be, you know, the low back curve should be about as thick as your hand. So if my back was on the floor, my hand would just slide gently under it and just fit there. It's just a general statement. It's not gonna be true for everyone. Okay, let's stay on this standing leg. Let's really fatigue it. So right leg, I think everyone's working in. Next thing, and I can't express this enough, you guys should do thousands and thousands and thousands of these, is calf raises. So let's see if you can get yourself stacked over, come off of your block, just set to the side for a second, check your quads just so you're aware of them, and then just come up, and you're looking for an elevator, straight up. So weak ankles or loose ankles, they're gonna try to come out like this. It's okay to have your ankles coming out like that. It's actually good because it's durability training, right? This is supinating and pronating. So once your calf raises coming up and down are so solid and your ankles are so strong, then you can come up like this, and you should. So this would be a goal, something you can add to your calf raises. So knees are gonna stay straight here. You're just coming straight up and down. A way to progress that, besides what I just showed you, is to get 2 blocks or go to like a step in your house and then come all the way further down, right? And then you've got a loaded calf stretch, which is you're running, right? So every step in running is this back, leg, and your calf raise, right? Make sense? Let's do it all on the other side. So we did, you investigated your pelvis first. You checked to see if your quad was off. You made sure that your heel was grounded onto the block. A little bit of nuance to this, it's all just gonna get harder and harder and harder, is shift your weight into your heel, shift it out of your toes. Lift and spread your toes. See if you can do it just the 4 corners of your feet. If this is really messing with your balance, then I would honestly say you have no business doing tree pose. That's a bold statement, but I'm gonna stand by it. Right? So check and see if your hips are twisting. Right, so now I told you we have people that walk with this hip hike. Why am I training it? Why am I training you to do the hip hike, right? Because the hip hike is used in walking up and down hill, not in walking on flat ground, right? When I go up the hill, I use the outer hip to put me forward. Okay. And then once you got that, practice stepping off the block and using the range of your pelvic tilt. It's when you find your end range, then let your knee bend. So when you're walking downhill, you use this hip hike. And then since the calf raises were double, we we did that. I'm not gonna do them again. I'm just gonna say again that you guys should do thousands and thousands of calf raises, and I'm not exaggerating at all. So you can do them at the grocery store. I do. You can do them at the airport. Next thing here is gonna be specific ankle durability training. I want you to supinate your feet, get them to the outer edges, roll in and out a couple times. That doesn't hurt your knees. Notice how when you supinate your feet, it already spirals through the inner leg line, right? So for those of us who learn Bandha and yoga, this external spiral that we use to create a lock with the feet, it happens in walking. It's just walking. It's all Tadasana. So if you've got that, it's really easy, and you can walk without having to bend your knees a bunch or like flex your hip a bunch like this, and you can stay in neutral, then try to take a couple of steps and build your ankles for durability. And what it can start to look like is that, you see my feet right here, I start to actually push off the side of my foot, like a foot, right? I'm walking just like a foot. And then take a couple of steps, the foot pronated, your knees are gonna kind of touch, and then same thing, so you can keep your knees kind of together like mine. You're gonna have to waddle a little bit, which is fun. And then see if you can use your foot like this, like a foot. So it actually hits the ground and comes off the ground. And this is how you train durable ankles. So you won't roll your ankles, ever again. I don't roll my ankles at all, it doesn't happen. Because I've got the loaded resistance in that position to keep it from happening. It's just training specific muscles. Okay, last little part here, this is just gonna be a little exercise in walking uphill, come back to your block. Right foot goes forward. We're gonna emulate the step up just like we did the step down. So feel like you did in Founders. When you had the quad off and you had all the weight on the back of that leg, feel it in the standing leg before you come on, and then kick. The back leg is in a calf raise yourself up. Do you feel the pelvic list here? Do you feel the spiral in the foot? Do you feel a light supination and pronation as the back foot comes up and down? You're bringing it all together. Don't be afraid to use the wall here if y'all need to, guys. Just a couple like that. And then do it on the other side. And we're doing these really slow and doing a lot of them so that you can train your body to do it on its own without you having to be in your walking meditation for the rest of your life being like, where's my pelvic tilt? Where's, you know, you might want to do that if you're a super nerd like me. But you might not. You might just want to move forward with your life and start having fun without being in pain. Okay. For those of you who are running, I don't want to do this today, but I want to give you a couple of little training techniques for running. All of this applies to running. If any of this is hard for you, then just do it a lot. I'm not going to tell you to stop running, just do it a lot and keep getting better and better. And if you go into injury because of your running, stop running for a while and go back to all this stuff and find out where it is. You're going to feel it. You're going to put a ball somewhere and be like, my God, that's it. That's what happened. But a little coordination training for running is always good. So here's the first coordination training. And I did all this like 4 days in a row, so forgive me if it's not beautiful. What am I looking out here for? Pelvic twist? Nope, that's my hip trying not to extend. So if my hip doesn't want to extend backwards, but I tell it to, well, it's just gonna twist, so I think I did it. Right, what else am I looking for? Hip hike, hip twist. I'm looking for weight shifting way too far in the toes. Your toes should be able to lift. Other thing I'm looking for, inability of the swinging leg to extend. Inability of the standing leg to extend. Okay? After that, add a calf raise to it. Right, you've got a lot going on here. If your calf raise is not very accessible, then don't do this. If your pelvic list isn't accessible, then don't do this. All right, so this is running essentially. I'm doing it. Okay, add some holds right here. It's another great thing to do. Add some holds back here. So I'm going, hold. Check all my stuff out. Oh, I'm really, I've got a big hip hike here, okay. All right, I'm holding. Away my toes. I'm gonna shift back. Right? That's the meditation. It's fun. Last thing for running, super important, turn your calf raises into jumps. Once you get your jumps down, try to get hang time, right? And then we're looking at, so beginner jump would be this. Here's your first jump, or this. Yep, this is a big first jump, second jump, third jump, fourth jump, and here's a fifth jump. It's called skaters. All right, so you got skaters, you got front to back. You see my arms, how they're in Tai Chi twist? This is also Tai Chi twist. All right, so all that coordination work needs to be mastered. All right, we're at time, but I've got releases for you guys, so you can take them or leave them, but you should know we're at time. It's hot in here. You guys want to take 5, and that way whoever wants to go can pack up. I will get questions and everything, and I'm not in a hurry, so. But everybody get some water whether you're staying or going.
It is hot.
I know, it's super hot in here.
It is.
Yeah, would you like us to pack the thing?
Nope, I'll put it away. Yeah, if you need to go, just head on out. And, oh wait, if you are heading out now, let me make sure I get your name and email on the sign-in sheet so I can send you the video.
Yeah.
And then you'll have all of this. There's no way we could have fit all this in with y'all taking notes.
You got me.
So, right here. Who all is leaving?
I'm ready.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was awesome.
When I send you an email and you have any questions, jot them down now and just email them to me. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I went over time.
No, you're fine. Overstacked my schedule.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll reply to email.
Perfect. You did get it. Did you get yours on there?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Good? Lily's out there, I think she's been hanging out.
She's been hanging?
Yeah.
What a sport.
Well, you know, she just had her twins, so I didn't want her to leave her at home
Yeah.
since it was so far.
Is she doing okay?
Yeah, she's doing better. After I took her to the emergency room.
How scary.
Yeah, she's doing better, but she's still, you know, can't eat regular stuff. Taking it easy.
Well, thanks for coming. I'll see you on
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
I'm doing it. Look at me. I'm doing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Uh-huh.
Did you get your name and email down?
I did.
Okay, that's right. Brandy. Okay, cool. Please do.
And they keep making like Oregon on their increased primary and then already added like other
I love their tattoo on your leg. It's fire.
but like I don't know how everyone else is, but
That was amazing.
Thank you. It's been the culmination of a lot of joy and learning for me. And you know, when they asked me what I wanted to teach in a workshop, I was just like, this is what I want. This is what I want to teach everyone. Like,
This
right,
is like
you
the
know,
only kind of yoga I could do right now.
good. Then you.
So I'm like, I want to go to Omaze, but none of the classes I can do, and then I'm like,
Yes, well that makes this practice so juicy for you because you are going to see so much unfold inside of you, right? Yeah, it's a little pen.
What is that?
It's a Remarkable 2. Yeah, it has no web browsing capabilities and it's specifically designed that way for attention. So I'm not on the web, like when I'm on my tablet, I'm on my tablet.
reminds me of the Kindle, so that's why
Right.
I was like, oh, but you can write on it.
Does it like, will it switch it? Will it turn that into like PDF or something?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna type out all my notes better for you guys, for people who learn better written, and type out a practice for you, because you don't wanna always have a video of me acting a fool in the background while you're practicing.
but I really, I mean, I probably will reach out to you and get a session, because I want to pick your brain.
Oh my gosh, you have your mask on. You're the one that messaged me, and you're new
Yeah.
to this area.
Right.
I just made that connection just now.
I know, I'm sorry. My husband is really COVID paranoid, so
That's
he
okay.
makes me wear a mask anytime I go indoors.
It's fine with me. Doesn't hurt my feelings.
But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of SI joint hypermobility, and my low back is really tight, and I need a lot of hands on me and eyes on me to figure out what's going on.
Well, I do privates is where most of my work is at. So if you feel like you need to do that for a while because you need a mirror for yourself to get yourself into that, I'm taking on more clients slowly. So I'd probably take one more right now. I have a couple people I'm kind of talking to, but you know, if you want to put your name in the hat, then it's like basically whoever commits first is getting in there.
Right. I mean, I definitely want to like pay for an hour of your time to pick your brain and see what I can find out.
Yeah, we can do it.
I'm already working with 4 practitioners, so I don't have the time or money to commit to an ongoing thing
Right.
unless I intuit that this is the right thing.
Yeah. Well, my mind's open. If yours is, you can just let me know.
Great. Yeah.
You know, if you feel like I've got what you need, I'm confident in myself, but I'm sure your other practitioners are incredible. So.
They are, but they're not here.
Oh, okay.
I also really want to
Yeah.
pick your brain about here.
Okay.
And who's here and what's here and
Yeah.
who belong here. Not that you can answer that, but I need
I
to talk
try.
to a lot of people to, you know, to get my intuitive sense.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant.
So great, I will be in touch.
Awesome.
Like, what's the best way? Is it on?
Yeah, I communicate through social media all the time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like a lot. So.
We were very responsive over Instagram, so.
Yeah, I have so many people. Yeah, I have a lot of my hands in a lot of pots.
Yeah.
So I have time whenever I do not have my phone and I will not respond. But there's a lot of the time when I'm at
I'm
work.
running off to teach a workshop in virtual reality, but I'm believe it or not.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Good. I hope that this prepared you to feel good in your body and
Yeah.
centered and
I do.
good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not good at yoga, but this is
Okay. I'll put it all away, don't worry about it. You all staying? Is anyone staying for the last 2 releases and questions?
Nice.
Okay.
I mean, I have questions, but I'll.
Yeah, you can just hit me up later. The last 2 releases, it seems like the energy's kind of like raised in the room and there's no reason to bring it back down again. So I'm just going to give you the iliacus release.
Alright, right, because I need that.
You need the bolster. Make sure I'm on the camera. You need the bolster underneath your pelvis, but towards the tailbone side. So way over here. Get it where your pelvis can sit there, but like the blocks kind of like lifting up a little bit, and your low back is just like slowly melting towards the floor. And that's it. Feet are on the floor. Knees are stacked over feet. Stay there for 10 minutes. Stay there for 20. Stay there forever. But you want that block kind of tilting up on its front end, like that's how much of your pelvis other way. It's tilting up off on its back end. So almost like towards your tailbone so much that you're almost falling off of it, but you're not quite falling off of it.
Like this kind of.
Yes. And then you can scoop your body away from it to pull your iliacus and release it. The other one is a psoas release. All it is a bolster or a bunch of pillows up underneath your body, and then you want your shoulder blades on it and your neck on it and everything else off. And this is a psoas release. Relax as long as you can into it. And you want to try to like wiggle your butt into a little bit of a posterior tilt. So if you're naturally in it like that, and you're in an arch in your back or a back bend, just slowly wiggle it away. Same thing, just let your body totally relax. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, there's really no limit.
Help me figure this out.
Let me pause this real quick. Thanks, bye.